The time is 6 p.m. We will now call this regular public meeting of the Board of Trustees of Humble Independent School District to order. Moving to our first item of business, closed session. A closed session of the board will now be held on the matters contained in the notice for this meeting. Should the board determine that any final action, final decision, or final vote be required with regard to any matter considered in such closed session, then such final action, final decision, or final vote will be made upon reconvening of this public meeting in open session. The time is 6 p.m. The time is now 7 p.m. We will now reconvene into open session. Thank you for joining us tonight. Reminder that the meetings of the board are open to the public, but are not a meeting of the public. The Humble ISD Board of Trustees meet monthly on a regular meeting to receive reports from staff and take action from recommendations of the superintendent. The board receives the agenda and all supporting documentation several days in advance of the regular meetings, which allows us to ask and receive answers to many of our questions in advance of the regular meeting. Therefore, lengthy discussions are not always necessary on every agenda item, but as a board, we do have the appropriate knowledge and preparation for responses regarding the content of the meeting tonight. There are students and other guests present. To maintain decorum, respectful behavior is expected. Disruptive behavior and/or comments will not be allowed. And with that, our first item, I would like to ask everyone to stand for our Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the Texas flag.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We will now observe a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated.
Mrs. Lamont Dixon, is Miss Morrison in?
She is, yes. Moving to our next agenda item, commendations and recognitions. Dr. Fagan, can you please introduce tonight's inspiring moments?
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. We have a very special celebration tonight, so we are going to reorder our commendations and recognitions just a little bit. Tonight, we will do our recognitions first. I am so proud to celebrate the Summer Creek High School State Champion Boys Track and Field Team. Mr. Troy Kite, Executive Director of UIL Athletics and Fine Arts, is here to tell us more about this extraordinary accomplishment.
This time, if I could have the guys put their front, please. Coach Kite, as they're coming up, I'm a little disappointed. I was expecting to see some of those suits that they wore to their banquet.
Well, see, and I wanted to wear what they're wearing. And they wouldn't let me. So I figure we're even.
Well, they look sharp at their banquet, and they look even better
I
today.
think I would look sharper like that than this, but that's me. Ms. Lamont Dixon, if you wouldn't mind, and Dr. Fagan, if you could join us. You know, I will speak to the group. Summer Creek High School has this term they use, 14,000 Championship Boulevard. And it's a term they use because it talks about the success that permeates through their entire athletic department. Brent McDonald is one of the best culture principals we've been around. Their campus coordinator, Carlisa Dixon and Kenny Harrison, they support every program. And if you were there that night, Carlisa, Kenny, and Brent were right in the middle of these guys celebrating. A year ago, we were here to celebrate their state championship. To be here back-to-back years takes a great deal more. And if you'll talk to people that that win back-to-back championships, they'll tell you the first one's easier because the thirst to drink from that cup is great when you haven't ever done it. To be able to get there and say you were the best like they did last year, you have that drive, you have that determination. It's something that's just inherent in an athlete. But once you drink from the cup, oftentimes the athletes get complacent. Our coach gets complacent. It's human nature. But if you hear Coach Irvin talk, he'll talk about culture. He'll talk about it takes a village to raise a successful program. If you talk to the programs, and Darius was quoted in the paper the other day, which I thought was a phenomenal quote, he talks about it's a brotherhood. And that brotherhood, that culture, that village drove these young men with a target on their back all the way through the season. Throughout the season, they set 50 top performances in the nation. They have the nation's best 4x4 time at 3:09, which is the nation's best this year. They cruise through district, they cruise through regionals, and they go into the state meet. And here's where I get a little nervous. When you walk into the state meet and everybody's just expecting you to sit back, kick back, relax, and win a state championship, that makes me nervous. And we kick it off with the shot put and the long jump. We get points in the shot put, which was great. And we go to long jump. And Aaron Davis has already had a best 25.5. And I don't know if you know anything about long jump. 25.5 is sick ridiculous. And so he's in first place, and this kid out of nowhere jumps, and he's in second place. And Darius is down to his last jump. And I go back to that culture, that brotherhood, that village, and the confidence that he had on that runway made you get chills on your arms. He jumps 25.3.5. We win that. We're going into the running now. We've got a great 4x1 team. And the worst thing in track, and I hate to do this to you guys, but I teared up a little bit at that point. But the worst thing that can happen in a relay is to drop a baton. And we dropped the baton. We finished 8th, and the whole stadium gasped because then it gave a chance for someone to beat us. And so you have to wonder, is that resolve going to be there? So hurdles, we finish 2nd and 3rd, get points. Okay? Rainey in the 400 and 800, who's the nation's best, wins the 400 and 800. And you really get into the 4x4, which is that last race. And mathematically, Trey and I had done the point total. We could coast, kind of, and just take it easy and not drop the baton, and we most likely would be state champions again. That culture, that brotherhood, that village wasn't going to allow that to happen. They smashed every other group at that meet. They ran a 3:10, and they are now back-to-back state champions. So please help me welcome our back-to-back state champions, the Summer Creek Bulldogs. Yeah, parents, you can take a picture. Mark's if other board members want to get down there. You can get right up in front, Mom. You can do what you want. Son's a state champion. When your son's a state champion, you get to do what you want. Yes, we like the full board to now join. Sorry, full board, I screwed that up. But if I was in a T-shirt and sweats, I would have gotten it right. I don't do pictures, Rod. Ask Perkins, did we ever do? We don't do pictures. We never did pictures. It's not going to change now. So can I wear a T-shirt and leggings next time? Because if they're there, I'll come to more board meetings. And then before I dismiss them, I have one more award I want to present. It's personal to me. Our head track coach, Shelton Irvin, if you listen to him speak when he gives clinic presentations or you listen to him give interviews, never once have I ever heard him talk about himself. It's always the kids, it's always the staff that he has. If you talk to these young men, they know how great of a coach they have. Shelton was the National Coach of the Year last year. And Shelton just recently was named the Greater Houston Area Coach of the Year. He's the Texas Track Coach of the Year and the VIP Coach of the Year. And so while he may never take credit for any of this, I want to make sure that everybody in the room recognizes he is the leader of this success. We are very, very fortunate to have Shelton. Congratulations. No, and seriously, while Brent's coming up here, you know, we talked about culture. Athletic programs cannot be successful without a building principal that believes in what it does for the academic setting. Brent's culture is magnificent. It permeates to Kenny and Carlisa and all of our head coaches. Brent, thank you for getting out of the pool and getting up here. We appreciate that. He was in the pool. Yes, they can. Come on over, guys.
Hi, hello. I'm Malcolm Washington. I ran the 400 and the 4x4 at State, and I'm attending SFA next year.
My name is Miles Thomas. I ran the 4x1 and 100. I'm going to Arkansas State next year.
Hello, my name is Justin Crav. I did the shot put at State, and I'm going to Northwestern State next year to continue my athletic career.
I'm short, sorry. Hi, I'm Alex White. I run the 800 and 4x4, and I'm going to University of Missouri, Kansas City next year.
I'm Blake Gibson. I was on the 4x1 and the 4x4 at State, and I'm going to Jackson State University.
Hold on. All right. I'm Darius Rainey. I ran the 400, 800, and 4x4 at State, and I'm going to University of Southern California.
Aaron's currently in Eugene, Oregon, competing for the Youth 20 team, which is the junior national team. So Aaron Davis is currently competing to make the U.S. team in the long jump in Eugene, Oregon. Randy will leave out tomorrow. He's going to compete for a spot in the 400 for the U.S. team to represent United States. Columbia is in Columbia this year. So he'll be heading out tomorrow to represent us in our district. So.
Was a good hire, Trey. Good job. And his wife, too, is a good hire. So she's in the back. She's in the house. Yes. We appreciate her also. Coach Irvin came to the UIL Legislative Council meeting where I sit on that group. He didn't know I was be there. But he called me a friendly face, so we're all good, Coach. That was good. Next, Humble ISD is fortunate to have community partners who wrap themselves around our schools, our students, and our teachers so that our children receive the very best educational experiences. Ms. Jerry Monbaron, Director of Community Development, is going to come to the podium to share information about a donation from MUD 278.
Yes, thank you. So one of the critical factors that makes Humble ISD great is our community support. And Humble ISD has many local partners that are committed to supporting our schools. So tonight, I would like to recognize Harris County Municipal Utility District 278 for their donation of $25,000 to Humble ISD designated to River Pines Elementary, and invite the following individuals to come forward and take a picture with School Board President Martina Lamont Dixon and Superintendent Dr. Fagan. So I'd first like to invite the former principal of River Pines Elementary, Alicia Pierce. You can clap, that's okay, yeah, that's great. And then our incoming principal of River Pines, Rachel Dunn. So representing MUD District 278 is Shantae McGee. Tommy Allen. Gwen Thornburg, not here, okay. Eugene Newsom. Nancy David. And Mr. Matlock's not here, correct? Okay, great. So this is all of them. And she is bringing a check to take for the picture, but I will tell you, I have the real thing in my hands. They brought it, so it's all good. So please join me in thanking these individuals and the MUD District for demonstrating their support of River Pines Elementary. Thank you all.
Billy, we need one of those big wallets so that when we get big checks, you can come up and we can put it in the big wallet. That's a future.
Inside the deposit, though.
Yeah. No drive-through. That's awesome. I saw that Jerry has the real check, though, and we'll be excited to see. Anyway, that was very generous. Thank you so much for your $25,000 donation to River Pines Elementary School. We actually do have an Inspiring Moments video tonight. It showcases our 2022 valedictorians and salutatorians. Each valedictorian and salutatorian was invited to submit a video message, and the videos that we received have been included in this inspiring moment.
With the transfer of high school to college and the rest of life, it is not the end, nor is it the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. When you take things one step at a time, rather than looking up the mountain, you'll already be at the top just by looking at the ground. So stick with the ground and you'll achieve whatever it is you set to.
I would like to say thank you to all the teachers for supporting us during hard times and instilling a love of education. I can firmly say I am who I am today because of y'all, so thank you.
Hi, my name is Tommy Newman, and my favorite school memory is coming up to the Willow Creek Pavilion to play basketball with my friends. We've been playing ever since elementary school. We'd come up over weekends, after school, during summer, whenever, and just play for hours on end. And that led me to be playing on this court at Kingwood High School on the varsity basketball team for 3 years. So I'm forever grateful for the time spent under that Willow Creek Pavilion.
Hi, I'm Brady Patton, Summer Creek Auditorium. I would say that the most important lesson I learned in high school was that sometimes you just have to shrug your shoulders and go, you know what, next time. Because for example, if you get a bad test grade, you just have to shrug it off and say, you know what, next time, I'll get a good grade. If you have a bad day, you just say, you know what, next time, tomorrow, next day, I'll just have a better day. You always have to make sure that the moment that you're living in is good and that you're not living in the past. And if you are, you just have to say, next time it'll be better.
Hi, I'm Kaya. I'm the valedictorian of Atascocita's class of 2022, and my advice for future high schoolers is to just make sure you stay on top of your work and make sure that you prioritize yourself above everything else. That homework assignment is important, but you're more important, and make sure to take advantage of this time in your life and have fun and enjoy yourself. Yeah, bye.
Hi, my name is Kate Tiki and I'm from Kingwood Park High School. My biggest line of advice to anyone who's watching this video is to work hard and put their full effort into everything that they do. But more importantly than that, make sure you're having fun.
Hi, I'm Grace Zamani, and I'm the salutatorian at Atascocita High School. The best piece of advice I've learned this year is that it is better to be yourself than to pretend to be something that you're not. Now, once you stop being afraid of how people perceive you, life is way more entertaining. You can take up hobbies like balloon animal making and actually enjoy yourself. You'll find people who accept you because of your works and not in spite of them.
So congratulations to all of our valedictorians and salutatorians. That is quite a feat in an Humble ISD high schools, where it is very rigorous competition for those very coveted spots. And that is the end of our recognitions for this evening.
Thank you very much. We will now have a public hearing to discuss the 2022-2023 budget. Is there anyone who would like to speak from the public? Okay, seeing none. Next is public comment. However, no one is signed up to address the board, so we will move on to the next item. Comments by individual board members. I will start with Mrs. Parker.
Thank you, Madam President.
Mrs. Parker, I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but before we get started, I wanted to recognize the fact that we have our HD 127 State Rep-elect, Mr. Charles Cunningham, and former school board member present with us today, this evening. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Cunningham. Thank you. Okay, Mrs. Parker.
You can interrupt me anytime for Mr. Cunningham. Thanks for being here, Mr. Cunningham. So I just really wanted to wish everybody a happy summer. And the only thing that I wanted to say today is it's a very, very special person's birthday today. And this person is a former president of this board. You would be hard-pressed to find somebody who has done more for education in Texas than this person. And today is State Representative Dan Huberty's birthday. So I want to wish him a very, very, very happy birthday. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Holmes.
Yes, happy summer. I'm enjoying it. We just got back from Florida for being in
a heat wave all week with my son's baseball team. So it was fun, but I'm glad to be back. Glad to be back. Want to say first, the Summerwood track team, awesome. That is nothing short of great leadership. And then as far as the Mud District and the donation, thank you for that. That's awesome. And lastly, I love what Brady said. I think he was the salutatorian for Summer Creek. I love that. Next time. And if we all started living not in the past, but next time, I love that. So that's the one key thing that I liked out of all of those great videos is next time. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kirchhoffer?
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Madam President. I want to just say, if whoever's watching that are the new hires, I think it's 400, about 400, Rick, new hires, and a huge pool to draw from. No matter what's going on in this country, if we just focus on what we're doing in this district, it's so exciting. And it really is a destination district. And I have to say, I have a Twitter account, so I follow Summer Creek. I follow all the sports. But that team and those boys and that coach have done, I mean, back-to-back state of Texas is unbelievable. But they are truly one of the best, if not the best, track and field team, boys team in the country. Just think about that. I mean, we all grew up playing sports. Robert Sitton, Marcus, Robert Scarfo probably, but back-to-back state champions and one of the best teams in the country. And it's out of this district. So happy birthday, Dan Huberty, and to the $25,000 donation. That's what makes it go here. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Rusty, do we have Mrs. Morrison available? Yes.
Congratulations to Summer Creek. That's awesome. And I'm hoping everybody's enjoying the summer. And yes, Mr. Gardner, thank you for all those hires. I mean, let's face it, we get the cream of the crop, okay? And short but sweet, I just want to say a shout out to my Aggies. They're still in the College World Series. So I hope everybody has a great day. I got to play the Sooners tomorrow.
Thank you. Mr. Sitton.
Thank you, Madam President. So, I mean, she did just mention the College World Series. There was the coolest picture I have ever seen was, and I don't know their first names, so somebody correct me. And I believe it's Duplantier. Is that how you pronounce her last name? Duplantier. So, the little brother is playing in the high school all-star game. And they've got a picture of him signing baseballs at the high school all-star game. And right behind him is a TV monitor with Texas playing in the World Series, and his brother, who also graduated from Summer Creek, was on the bump pitching for Texas in the World Series. That was the coolest picture I think I've ever seen. So Summer Creek's not just about track and field, it's about excellence in everything they do. And but tip your hat to these guys that went back to back. A lot of you know my background. I was at Aldine High School. We won the state title in 1990, had everybody back. We were fixing to have a 3-year run. No one could stop us. And we got beat in the semifinals and got beat in the quarterfinals. So once you win it that first time, it's really, really hard to win it the second time. In 1989, you may remember the movie Friday Night Lights. At the end of it, its caption said that they went back and the Permian Panthers won the state title the next year. They beat us. And our kids were hungry and came back and won it the next year. But then we just couldn't put it together. We couldn't stay hungry enough. And so, you know, the kids go out and perform, but the coach keeps that fire lit in those kids and did not allow them to take it for granted. So, I mean, you tip your hat to them, and I'm just so proud of them. Folks from the Mud, thank y'all so much. Community partners is the way that we operate in Humble ISD, whether it's passing a bond referendum or partnering with local MUDs to help make our communities better. So thank y'all so much for your generosity, and thank you for being here tonight. Let's see, and lastly, I know Ms. Pierce left. She is now going to be the new principal at Willow Creek Elementary, and she's leaving River Pines in a much better place than she found it and leaving it in very good hands. So I think y'all be excited for the future to come. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. Mr. Scarfo.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, and I had Summer Creek on my list, but boy, that was way better than any thank you or recognition I could have given them just to say hi. But those guys did a great job and coached as well. I mean, 2 years running, pun intended, but they just did wonderful, and it is a really big accomplishment. Also want to say hello, Mr. Representative Cunningham. Thank you for being here in the House. That's great. Appreciate that. And also want to thank our friends from, it's 268, right? Did I get the right mud number? 278. All right, off by 10. But thank you so much. I mean, as Mr. Sitton said, it's community partners that help us, whether businesses, governmental agencies. It's just great, and it just shows like across the community. It's just a great place to be. Also want to congratulate our students that participated right at the end of the school year in the robotics tournament. I guess Creekwood Middle School. A big shout out for them because one of their teams took first place, another of their teams took third place, and Westlake took second place. And the competition was they had to build their own robots to participate in a challenge called Fire Fiasco. And basically they had to develop a robot that would save people from a burning building. So quite impressive if you look at some of the videos. Great job by all those kiddos doing that. It's just great to see, whether it's sports, arts, academics. It's just a awesome district, and we just appreciate all the effort everybody puts in. And I would be remiss because, of course, it takes money to run the district, and I want to thank Mr. Beatty's tax collection group, because if you look at their results, I mean, we're at, this stuff warms my heart. I mean, we're at 98, almost as high as last year, over at 98.2% of collected funds. That's just great what they do. So that means we're getting the money that's owed the district, and we're able to put it to use. So everything works together. So great job, Thelma Semple and her guys. We notice, so we appreciate it. And I think I'm going to stop right there. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, first I want to congratulate all of the graduates from Humble ISD. I believe we shook approximately 3,300 hands, somewhere around there, give or take. But truly, it's truly a blessing to work to do the graduations. I mean, first of all the students come up, they're super nervous, but we try to calm them down, and as they're coming across the stage. But it was truly a pleasure to see all of the students graduate. The valedictorian and salutatorian video, fantastic to the communications department. It was really well done, and congratulations to those students as well. Thank you for the mud donation, Mud 278. Thank you guys for being here this evening as well. Happy birthday to Representative Huberty. And of course, Summer Creek High School Boys Track. Such an outstanding group of young men, and obviously their coach is a leader. just an honor for them to be here this evening, and I'm glad we celebrated them in the way that we did. And just one key there also, Blake Gibson is my cousin. Dr. Fagan said I have a lot of, everyone's your cousin. Yes, I have a lot of cousins, but he is also one of them. And I actually had the pleasure of giving him his diploma at graduation as well. But that's really all I have, so we will move on. Our next item is comments by the administration. Dr. Fagan.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kirchhoff alluded to this a minute ago, but I want to thank the HR department. This time of year, in most organizations, there's like hiring and turnover throughout the year, and it's like a nice pace. And in our human resources department, all of the turnover and all of the hiring is all at the same time, and it happens to be the same time where they have to touch every single employee's pay to provide that wonderful 4% increase that the board approved at the last meeting. And so in the midst of hiring hundreds of people and also touching every single record of pay, they get all of this turned around so that we can start school in the fall with fully staffed or 99-point-something% staffed campuses and departments. And it's really just a lot of work, and they do an excellent job. And sometimes, we think we have somebody coming, and then they change their mind. We're like, no, Rick, go back. And they're always very customer service oriented. So thank you to Rick Gardner and all of the human resources team for the work that they're doing this time of year. It's very challenging. It makes me smile when I see people at Starbucks and they say, you all get the summers off, right? And I say, no, none of us get the summers off. This is like when we do all the other work, like you have to refurbish the schools and you have to hire all the people and you have to set a new budget. And anyway, it's been a full team event getting all of our positions hired because, as everyone knows, we are a growing district. And so in addition to the staff that have moved on or been promoted or whatever, we have to hire all those new positions also. So congratulations to all of you. Very proud of Summer Creek for two things. One, winning state twice is great bragging rights at the superintendent meeting, but beyond that, every one of those young men talked about his college path ahead and his future, and so it's not just about success on the track, it's about success in life. And so one of the things that I'm very proud of is that we take care of our students holistically. Our coaches care about their grades as well as their performance, and it's just as important to them that they are successful in school and that they go on with a future that will serve them well and their families as it is to them to win those state championships. And you can't say that everywhere. Some places, the only important thing is the game and the state championship, and that's it, but not in Humble ISD. And so I was very proud to hear each one of those young men talk about his future and his plans and the pride that he brought to that conversation. So job well done by everyone on that also. I think that's about it. We are adopting a budget tonight that I'm very proud of. A lot of districts and my colleagues have had to use ESSER dollars to backfill budget issues in this particular budget, and Humble ISD is not in that position. We are going to be adopting what will be a balanced budget that has not only a really strong compensation program for our employees because we value them so much. It does not increase the cost. Their benefits will not increase in cost, so it's a real raise. It doesn't get eaten up in healthcare premiums. Our clinics provide free services to everyone who attends and uses them, so they're not being eaten up with copays and those kind of things either. Our prescription plans are very strong. So very proud of this budget and its strength in compensation. It's also strong in employees. We are adding dyslexia specialists, we are adding ARD facilitators, we are adding for growth. We continue to support the programs that our students want to take, all in this budget. So it is a very strong, positive, balanced budget in Humble ISD. Mr. Beatty and his team have done a tremendous amount of work, but it starts with campus principals and teachers and staff members with ideas. Those come up and ultimately get to my cabinet, who reviews all of those, and no idea is a bad idea, but then we bring forward this budget that really is everyone. One of my favorite things in it is Brian Telford's We Love You crew. That's my name for it. He hasn't agreed to that yet. They told me I could put hearts on the trucks if they're blue because they have to be manly. But nonetheless, we want our schools to know that we do care for them and we love them. We want to help them and show them great customer service and all the things that they need. And so, again, we're adopting a budget tonight that I'm quite proud of. It's a balanced budget. It's not backfilled with one-time dollars, and it will serve and support Humble ISD well into the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Our last opening item is updates from our board associations and committees. First committee is the Advocacy Committee. Mrs. Parker?
The Advocacy Committee met on 6/2 with State Senator Brandon Creighton. Senator Creighton is the chairman of the Senate Public Ed and Higher Education Committees. That meeting, we discussed a lot of things. It happened to be 13 days after Uvalde, so we did focus the vast majority of the meeting on school safety, but it was really good and eye-opening, and we were able to give Senator Creighton our legislative priorities, so it was very great. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that as well. I mean, I know it's part of the committee, but it also means a lot. Next, Audit Committee, Mrs. Morrison.
Okay. Well, we had our May meeting, and also the Audit Department is working towards the 2022-23 campus operational audit objectives, and they are working to complete 9 remaining inventories by mid-July.
Thank you very much. Building and Planning Committee, Mr. Sitton.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Not a whole lot to add from our last meeting. We do have a couple agenda items on this board agenda. One is CBRE Heary, bringing them back for the next bond program. Gary Whittle's in the audience. He was invaluable in the 2018 bond program with sequencing, helping with some project management, and helping with bond funds as well. So hopefully the rest of the board will welcome him back. We also have another item, which is one of the first items out of Bond 2022, and that is the architect selection for baseball, softball, turf. And we had to postpone this week's meeting, and we're trying to schedule the next meeting for July 13th. And as soon as we have that anchored in stone, we'll send that information out.
Thank you very much. Board and Superintendent Evaluation Committee, that is me. We have nothing to report. Finance Committee, Mr. Scarfo.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, at this time of the year, the Finance Committee is going on its annual hiatus for a little bit, but the Finance Division, on the other hand, will be working at a feverish pace because, as you know, and it's an item on tonight's agenda, is to approve the first tranche of the bond 2022. And Mr. Palmer, thank you for being here as well, sir. No one comment, or there was no public comment for the budget, but I just want to make note for the record that if anybody failed to look at the public notice, our tax rate, as you see, is going down by 4.6 cents per hundred, which I think is pretty awesome. I'm a big reduced tax guy, so I mean I think that's really great that not only were we able to do that, but we did that and still are able to have a balanced budget on the operating side, and our INS budget is going to stay where it was at 35 cents. But all those programs, and there's a couple other ones, and Dr. Fagan, we talked about them last time, like for the student teachers and the certification programs. There's a lot of innovative things that these guys have come up with, and we've been able to find a way to fund that the board has gotten behind. And in the scheme of actually reducing the tax rate. So I think that is a win-win-win. So I'm very proud to be part of that. And Mr. Beatty, I know you guys will be very busy, so we wish you luck. And because they're looking to close that out. I guess the end of August we'll actually be looking to sell that issue or price it or. Pretty close, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's pretty fast track. But everybody knows where rates are heading. So I think it's great that we're able to get one nice chunk down at a lower rate than we might be looking at a year from now. So that's a good thing. So anyway, Madam President, that's all I have to add.
Thank you very much. I'm actually going to circle back to Board Superintendent Evaluation Committee. There is one thing we're voting on tonight, and that would be the superintendent contract, which would be pretty big, a big item.
Thank you.
I think you're wonderful, so, I'm ready to move on with that vote. So let's go on and move to Mr. Kirchhoffer for Education Foundation.
Thank you. Education Foundation Board Update. The Executive Committee for 2022-23, our chair will be Deborah Rose Miller. Vice Chair is Dr. Calandra Purvis. Treasurer is Mike Feld. 2 at-large positions will be held by Joshua Morrison and Danny Contreras. Additionally, we have 5 new board members joining us. Geraldine Sullivan, Drew Gutierrez. I think Drew's here. Hi, Drew. Jamie Lee, Christina Odell, and Brittany Francis. We do have 1 board member that is rolling off, served 8 years, 2 as our foundation chair. That's Indy Loth. And Indy, if you can hear us tonight, thank you for your service to the organization and your support of the Humble Education Foundation and the district. Thank you, Indy Loth.
Thank you, and congratulations to the new board members and the officers. Mr. Holmes, Kingwood Super Neighborhood Council.
Madam President, no new updates.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our next agenda item, action items from closed session. Item 4A, personnel recommendations. Ms. Parker, do I have a motion?
I move that the board approve the administration's personnel recommendations with addendum as presented in closed session.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Next is item 4B, proposed termination of term contract. Mrs. Parker, do I have a motion?
I move that the board approve the superintendent's recommendation to propose the termination of the term contract of Stephen Escobedo for good cause as determined by the board, and to authorize the superintendent to provide all notices and take all actions necessary for the same.
Do I have a second? Mr. Scarfo, second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Next is item 4C, student expulsions. Mrs. Parker, do I have a motion?
I move that the board approve the administration's recommendation of student expulsions as presented in closed session.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Item 4D, selection of board officers.
I move that the board approve the selection of Board of Trustees trustee officers for the 2022-2023 school year as follows. Robert Scarfo as president, Nancy Morrison as vice president, Chris Parker as secretary, and Ken Kirchhoffer as parliamentarian.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Before we vote, I would like to take a point of privilege as board president to move into closed session. Okay. For personnel, yes, thank you. It is 7:47. We will move to closed session. Thank you very much. The time is now 8:52. We will now reconvene into open session. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Madam President, I move to withdraw the selection, item 4D, selection of board officers. I withdraw my motion.
Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, is there
I move to table the item.
a second? Is there a re-motion that anyone wants to present?
Madam President, if you're willing, I would like to nominate you to serve a second term as president.
I am open.
I would like to second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to have a discussion. I'd like to understand why we're making the change and from our rotation. That's part of our board policy. Thank you.
Well, the best way that I can explain, from what is the events that have happened this evening, we do have to move forward with officers in place. And since the motion didn't pass with the current selection of board officers, I just believe the board has the right to move forward and in the direction that we choose.
Well, it wasn't that it didn't pass, it was tabled.
Well, it's tabled.
Okay, and so my question again.
But the table was not seconded.
Okay, so again, I'll ask, so why are we, if it's part of our board policy that we follow rotation, why aren't we following the rotation?
I believe in order to, and Mr. Dietz, if you can assist in this manner, but if the board votes, yes.
Motion, which received, I'm sorry, a second from Ms. Morrison. So the motion on the table is an amended motion to have Ms. Dixon serve as president. That's been motioned and seconded. The board would have to vote to accept the amendment and then would have to vote to accept Ms. Dixon as president for a second term if that's what the board chose to do.
And Madam President, also the next action item is the amendment of board operating procedures. And correct me if I'm wrong, board operating procedures are a self-governance position, correct?
They're procedures, not policies. That's correct.
So those procedures don't have to be changed prior to making this action.
They do not.
Okay, so first we would have to vote to amend.
To amend the original motion, which was because the withdrawal wasn't seconded.
Okay, so
Yes.
do we need to vote on that motion then, or do we?
The motion to amend, yes, and then once that motion to amend was accepted or rejected, you would be voting on the original motion, which was to accept the slate of voters with Ms. Dixon as the president.
And so who needs to make the amended
Slate of
motion?
officers, excuse me.
Who needs to make the amended motion?
That was done by Mr. Sitton when he made the second.
Okay,
The-
so we need to go ahead and vote.
On Mr. Sitton's amended motion to replace you as the president in the slate that was originally proposed by Ms. Parker.
Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? So the motion passes with 5 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstention. The motion passes. So, Mr. Dietz, do we have to do this for every office? Or is there?
No, I would say the slate was presented. The only change was you as president, and that would be what you're voting on at this point.
Okay, so
Because his amendment did not include any other member.
okay, so if we want to discuss any other office position, someone would have to make a motion?
Another amendment, yes, that's correct.
Okay. Does anyone have a motion for the other positions for office? Or Or are we saying they're staying the same?
I move the board approve the selection of the Board of Trustees officers for the 2022-2023 school year as follows. Mrs. Lamont Dixon, President, Nancy Morrison, Vice President, Chris Parker, Secretary, and Ken Kirschoffer, Parliamentarian.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Don't you have to have discussion before you
I'm
vote?
sorry, yes, that is correct. Any discussion?
Yeah, again, I'm going to ask you again, why the need to change our rotation protocols?
Well, look,
Yeah,
but
well,
your
let's
question,
tell-
Mr. Scarfo, your question is not directed to the particular motion that's on the table.
Is it not? I mean, this is what this is all about. I'm asking.
What,
counsel.
the motion is, I think your question's appropriate for the next agenda item where they're talking about why the change for the procedure.
Yeah, well,
Any other discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? And no abstentions. Motion passes. 6 in favor, 1 opposed. With that vote, I, Martina Lamont Dixon, will continue as board president. And prior to moving on to the next item, we will take 5 minutes to rearrange the dais. Okay, I think we're all adjusted and we're ready to move on. Our next item is item 4E, amendment of board operating procedures. Do I have a motion?
I think I put my water over there.
Madam President, I would, this motion, or this item was on here because we were going to look at adding parliamentarian to our list.
Yes.
I believe now we need to look at the operating procedures as a whole. I would recommend you send that to the Board Superintendent Evaluation Committee, which is the one that normally looks at, I believe, I may be wrong, looks at board policy to bring back recommendations to the board. I believe that's right.
Okay, Mr. Dietz. Can I poll the board to see if that is the direction we want to go, or we want to continue with the rotation?
If you wanted to poll the board to see if they wanted to pull the item for a later time, or to send it to, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood.
So my recommendation would be for the Board Superintendent Evaluation Committee to review the operating procedures and bring back recommendations at a future board meeting on how to proceed going forward.
Okay, so
So my question is, can I poll the board to see if we want to continue with the operating procedures at hand and continue the rotation, or at the pleasure of the board, do we prefer to take it to committee to review the board operating procedures? Is that a?
well, you haven't made a motion. There's been no motion, so you're asking me to.
So once the motion is made, then is that
Yeah.
something?
Yes, but then you'll have to vote on the motion.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Okay.
And coming out of committee, it may be that
That still stays. Or is a difference? Yeah. Okay. So do we take it to committee prior to the motion? Is that? can we make a motion to take it to committee
Take it to committee.
prior to the motion that's on the table?
I don't
That's
think.
not on the table?
No, I don't think you can do that.
Okay.
I think you need to either.
To hear
pull-
the motion.
You need to either make the motion to amend it or to review them here, or move to pull the item as has been suggested,
Okay,
and to take it up at a later meeting.
Well, there's the agenda item is basically board operating procedures, amendment of board operating procedures. And so the motion I made was to take it to committee for potential amendments and bring back recommendations.
Okay, so you're understood. I'm sorry. So you're saying let's second. You're saying you're looking for a second for that motion potentially, and that would be the action that would be taken. Would be to take it to committee.
Yes.
Understood. Yes, that can be done
okay.
with a second.
So that's a motion.
Yes.
Mr. Sitton, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss something. Okay, I don't see why it should go to the Superintendent Evaluation Committee. That's not part of their charge. I think what we should establish is an ad hoc committee of 3 board members to discuss this, and not necessarily just be in that committee. I wasn't real crazy about the idea when we were looking at appointing a board member, that all of a sudden it was given to the Superintendent Evaluation Committee, which, again, was not in their charges to do that, but we agreed to do it. And then that whole process, in my opinion, got short-circuited in terms of how it really should have played out. So I would rather that instead of it going to that committee, it go to an ad hoc committee agreed to by the board of 3 board members to look at, should we make any changes and to the board operating procedures, and if we should, what should they be? That's
The one point of clarification is that the committee is not just the Superintendent Evaluation Committee, it is the Board and Superintendent Evaluation Committee. I just wanted to be clear. And I think that's why it was suggested that it goes to that committee. Is there any other discussion?
okay, but that's going over board operating policy is not part of, if you look at what that committee's charge is, it's not that. So I'm giving an alternative that instead of that we appoint a committee to do it. And if you think it's a bad idea, then you think it's a bad idea. That's fine. I'm putting it out there.
Anyone else? Okay. All those in favor of taking
Taking it, yeah, to the committee.
to the Board and Superintendent
Board and
Evaluation
Superintendent
Committee to review and bring back to the board at a later time? All those in favor? For all those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes 4. 1 opposed and 2 abstentions. Okay. Our next item is item 4F, committee appointments. Do I have a motion?
I move that the board approve the committee appointments for 2022, 2023.
Thank you. Prior to the discussion, I'm going to read the appointment list. Audit Committee, Nancy Morrison, Chair. Members of Audit, Robert Sitton and Ken Kirchhoffer. Advocacy Committee, Chair, Chris Parker. Other members, Robert Scarfo and Nancy Morrison. Board Building and Planning, Robert Sitton, Chair. Other members, Martina Lamont Dixon and Marcus Holmes. Board and Superintendent Evaluation Committee, Martina Lamont Dixon, Chair. Other members, Nancy Morrison and Robert Sitton. Finance Committee, Robert Scarfo, Chair. Other members, Martina Lamont Dixon and Chris Parker. Humble ISD Education Foundation, Representative Ken Kirchhoffer. Kingwood Super Neighborhood Council, Representative Marcus Holmes. TASB Delegate and Alternate, Martina Lamont Dixon Delegate, Chris Parker Alternate. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes, 6 in favor, 1 opposed. Moving to item 6, our consent agenda. Is it item 5 or 6? It's 5. Okay, because it says 6 here, okay. Item 5A, motion to approve the minutes for the regular board meeting held on Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. Consent. Item 5B, motion to approve the minutes for the special board meeting held on Wednesday, May 18th, 2022. Consent. Item 5C, motion to approve the minutes for the special board meeting held on Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. Consent. Item 5D, bond transfers and amendments. Consent. Item 5E, budget transfers and amendments including commitments of fund balance. Consent. Item 5F, goods, professional services, and non-construction services exceeding $50,000 in the aggregate or $25,000 individually. Consent. Item 5G, tax refunds. Consent. Item 5H, investment management services. Consent. Item 5I, board authorization for interlocal agreements. Consent. Item 5J, approval of RFP number 2021-003R, supplies, equipment, and services for students with disabilities. Consent. Item 5K, approval of RFP number 2021-006R, educational service consultants. Consent. Item 5K, approval of, I think I already said that one, let me continue. Item 5L, approval of RFP number 2021-007R-15, educational and curriculum subscriptions, internet web-based access and software. Consent. Item 5M, approval of RFP number 2022-101, miscellaneous instructional material vendors. Consent. Item 5N, approval of RFP number 2023-102, services, repairs, maintenance, installation district-wide. Consent. Item 5O, approval of RFP number 2023-06, fire sprinkler inspections and repairs. Consent. Item 5P, approval of RFP number 2022-25, district vehicle purchases. Consent. Item 5Q, Program Management Services, CBRE Hearing. Consent. Item 5R, Architect Selection for the Baseball and Softball Synthetic Turf Project. Consent. Item 5S, Superintendent Contract. Consent. Item 5T, 2022-2023, Optional Flexible School Day Program, OFSDP. Consent. Item 5U, Low Attendance Day Waiver for 2021-2022 school year. Consent. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
I move to approve consent agenda items A through U.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0.
Read this.
Okay. Action items. Item 6A, 2022-2023, budget adoption. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, action items. Item 6B, an order authorizing the issuance, sale, and delivery of Humble Independent School District Unlimited Tax School Building Bonds, Series 2022. Authorizing a pricing officer to approve the amount, the interest rates, price, redemption provisions and terms thereof, and certain other procedures and provisions related thereto, and containing other matters related thereto. Do I have a motion?
I move that the board approve the order authorizing the issuance, sale, and delivery of Humble Independent School District pricing officer to approve the amount. Humble Independent School District Unlimited Tax School Building Bonds, Series 2022, authorizing a pricing officer to approve the amount, the interest rates, price, redemption, provisions, and terms thereof, and certain other procedures and provisions related thereto, and containing other matters related thereto.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Moving to our information items for tonight, item 7A, 2022-2023 State and Federal Programs Report. Any questions from the board regarding this item? Seeing none, our last information item, 7B, Financial Services Reports, is a monthly administrative item. Any questions from the board regarding this item? Seeing none, moving to our closing items, are there any topics for future board business? The time is now 9:27 p.m. This meeting is now adjourned.